Hey everyone, welcome back to Somatic Wisdom and the Ethereal Soul. My name is Valencia Borzoni Scott, and we are talking about embodiment practices. I'm a retired holistic health practitioner of 2 decades, and we are going to be talking about, all kinds of stuff here. Embodiment practices, the challenges to getting embodied, the pathways to getting there, and we talk a lot about the body-mind connection and how that all weaves together as part of the fabric of our life, our daily life. So I'm a published author. My book, Chasing Shade, Living with Developmental Trauma, you can find that on any online retailer. This is our 3rd anniversary of the publication of the book, and it's always an exciting time this spring. Kind of the renewal. We're coming out of winter and our downtime and our kind of going within time, and we have new life happening. And so I'm really glad that the book was released in spring of 2021, and this is March of 2024. And so we're just getting ready to just kind of celebrate this 3rd year anniversary for the next couple of weeks. So today we're going to talk about polio and paralysis. This has come up a couple of times in conversations for me with some folks, some articles I've been reading, a book I just recently read, and I'll do a follow-up. Let me grab the book really fast. I'll do a follow-up article on the book. I'll do a follow-up video on the book. Sorry, I'm totally distracted now. So the first conversation that I had recently with somebody was about polio. And I knew it was paralysis, but I didn't know a lot more about it other than that. And then so the follow-up video I'm going to do is for myasthenia gravis. And the reason that I'm going to be doing that right after this is because apparently they're closely related. Myasthenia gravis is also called the snowflake disorder or disease because each case is a little different. But I'm not sure about much more than that. So let's just start with polio and paralysis. So what is polio? I looked it up. Polio, also called poliomyelitis. It's itis is inflammation. It's acute flaccid paralysis. So the onset is very quick, and the history of it is pretty freaking terrifying. And I've known several people who had mild cases of polio, and that affected mostly their limbs. So there was some paralysis either in an arm or a leg. But at its extreme, there was full body paralysis where individuals would have to live in what was called an iron lung. And if you look up iron lung online, you can see some images of just how really extensive this care was. But it often led to death, and it was quite terrifying. So polio is a paralysis that is contracted via a virus that is spread through contaminated food, water, or contact with an infected person. And again, limbs or whole body paralysis, very quick onset. I do believe there was some mention of connection to fecal matter, but we have vaccines for this now. We've had vaccines for a very long time. And so contracting polio is very rare now. I think the numbers were extremely low when I looked it up online. But what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at polio and paralysis through the lens of a body-mind kind of theory. This book that I'm utilizing is by Michael J. Lincoln. It's called Messages from the Body. I like it because it's a little more in-depth than Louise Hay. And right off, this book does not give you the positive kind of affirmation that Louise Hay provides, partly because the book that he's, the material that he is giving is much more in depth, and there is a healing protocol that we use in this book. And so it's mostly done in partnership and collaboration with someone who is doing healing work. And as a retired holistic health practitioner of 20 years, and a craniosacral therapist, both in dynamic and upledger method, and a Reiki practitioner, certified Reiki master, I really appreciate the ability to be able to bring energy work and invite the divine into this healing work. I've been on a path of integration myself for the last 8 years, integrating everything that I learned during my bachelor's degree studies. My Reiki master certification also took place during that time. And it's unfortunately my integration was delayed for about 8 years as I was busy handling other family things. Now the integration is happening very quickly, and it's rather surprising for me. I'm getting some illness, and then the resolve is happening kind of quick, sometimes not. Sometimes medical intervention is needed. I did have an eye infection recently, and I had to go and get antibiotics for it. It was quite extensive and a little terrifying. And, you know, I'm not one to mess with my vision because I really appreciate it as an artist and as someone who has pretty good eyes. Don't let the glasses fool you. It's just for reading. I do really, I just didn't want to mess with that. And so, but after the fact, I did look it up. Please check it out. There is a video that was posted today, March 11th, about that experience. And so right now we're going to look at polio. Really want to understand paralysis a little bit more. So in Michael J. Lincoln's book, Messages from the Body, he states that there is, in regards to polio, it's the first one we're going to look at, life and death scarcity, feeling done in by someone. Mainly the source of origin for this kind of work is family of origin. I mean, that's really what we're talking about, is developmental trauma, childhood traumatic experiences that led to chronic health conditions, okay? I mean, that really is the bottom line of what we are looking at here. And my book, Chasing Shade, is about developmental trauma, that I didn't have addiction or substance use, extensive substance use that led to addiction, that I didn't have a mental health condition, that I didn't have some other type of physical, long-lasting chronic condition is kind of a miracle. I did have some chronic back pain, and that lasted about 10 or 15 years, and that was related to a childhood incident. But, you know, these are really big deals. And so I'm always fascinated by the body and its capacity for holding memory and releasing and transforming experience. And that's pretty much why I'm doing this. So let's continue with polio. Limited life, resources, feelings of jealousy, life and death restrictions of freedom, which is weird because paralysis leads to a very strong dependence on others. So it's almost like a double-edged sword, right? You're telling me what you want me to do, but I'm going to do something different. So now I'm controlling the situation. I'm paralyzed. Polio as contracted by a virus, different, but the resulting condition of paralysis, when we look at that, and we're going to look at that in the next segment. So let me just finish this. A family. Okay, this is now we're talking about the origin. Scarcity of life support systems, right? The support of our family, right? We lean on them. They help us move through as we grow into adulthood and lead us and guide us into an adult life, right? Created competition to the death among family members. That's the family of origin. That's the dysfunctional thinking, is that there was such a deep competition amongst the family members that it was a fight to the death. Okay, so that's polio. That's what Michael J. Lincoln has to say about polio And now we're going to look at paralysis. Don't move. The balance of the cosmos rides on every move. From a fight or flight nervous system response, this would be the freeze response, right? There's a couple of responses: fight, flight, freeze, faint, fawn, fornicate is another one, that bloodlust. So balance of the cosmos rides on every move. So that's a freeze response. Paralysis could be viewed as a freeze response. Don't move forward. In SEMA, Somatic Inquiry Through Movement in Art, which is the work that I do, this would be the walking response. Crawling, walking, climbing, any of those forward movements, postures that we do, right? My work, Somatic Inquiry Through Movement in Art, the movement postures that we utilize are all developmental, laying down to rolling over, sitting, standing, right? Rolling over, crawling, to sitting, to standing, to walking, right? These are all the developmental postures that most children go through in a normative context. And so don't move forward, don't advance, don't walk, don't advance. It will lead to World War III. Now, in Polio, he already states, this has created a competition to the death. World War III, I mean, this is pretty extreme. The weight of the world and the brunt of pain of the human race is now bearing down on this person when we're talking about paralysis. The family, he's framing it as a blame-throwing, responsibility-avoidant, accountability-avoidant group of folks. Don't move till I tell you to. Irrational and chaotic, and this person who is experiencing the paralysis is helpless and powerless to do or change anything. So that's the first section. Second one is they're after me. Immobilizing, fear and terror, utter helplessness, under attack from the universe. It becomes a weird kind of escape mode, right? If I'm helpless, if I'm truly helpless, then I am in control in some way. There is an intense resistance to life as it's being presented from this chaotic family. But if I turn it around and now I'm paralyzed, now I create the life, even if it's diminished, limited, but there's a sense of I am now in charge. I was helpless before because they're coming at me, but now I've changed the dynamic, even at my own peril and my own expense, right? This is what is happening perhaps in the mind of the person that is now paralyzed in the dynamic, in this family dynamic that Lincoln is describing. So avoiding unwanted task or experience, situation or person. Avoiding an unwanted task or experience, situation or person. Talk about really taking control. It's so powerfully dynamic because this person has now created an ultimate dependence their way, right? I'm going to make you do what I want you to do for me. I am in charge now. That is the mindset. It's a reversed psychology embodiment of a really fucked up dynamic is what we're looking at here. Intense resistance to life, people, things in a super stubborn reaction. Fearful of the future, reluctant to engage, mental and emotional confusion. They are overwhelmed, they feel inadequate, and now they are lacking self-control. This is huge. This is so huge. I mean, you know, this is so dynamically, talk about an extreme level of self-harm. And what we know about the body-mind is that it literally shapes the body from childhood. The shape of our eyes, our postures, how we hold ourselves, how we walk in the world, whether we collapse into life. It shapes everything. And there's a lot of power in the mind and the body connection. There's a lot of strength and boldness that can be cultivated and utilized. But if we are not aware of that connection and the power that our cells have to create this body and that we can create our life, that can happen in the negative, right? I'm creating my life. My life is now that I'm paralyzed or something, or I have some chronic health condition. I'm really stunned by this information. I'm really quite floored by this, you know. And the cool thing about this is that there are a couple of protocols that we use in healing ceremony with Lincoln's work. We start with an invocation. And, you know, that to me is the most beautiful piece. We're inviting in ancestors, we're inviting in the violet flame, we're inviting in all of our guides to help us move through this, and we come into the light for this. And there is a word clearing that we utilize, and there's also a polarity balance that we can include with this work. And, you know, again, as I'm integrating more of my own health and healing, I'm just stunned by how quickly it's happening. It's happening so fast. And the invitation was for it to come in and kind of unfurl, if you will, a little more slowly so that I could have time to digest it and really integrate it. And as I'm looking out the window here, the little sliver of moon is smiling at me. We are in new moon, and I'm very excited about that. And so, you know, the potential of working with this, the potential of transforming the mind and transforming the body is really there. And to whatever degree we believe that we're capable of, to whatever degree we choose to have transformation. And what I do know and understand about the body is that the longer a condition continues, the more degradation there is around the tissues, the bones, the cells. They don't heal or bounce back as quickly. They're aging. And so I don't want to mislead anybody by saying, oh, we can get you walking again. That's not what I'm saying. But certainly we can work with the mind component and the belief systems around what may have led to paralysis, what may have led to this condition. And depending on when it's happened, there may be an opportunity for some type of an advanced recovery, and there may be a limited potential for recovery. There's so many factors to that. It's very layered and very nuanced for each person. And so I just wanted to get this put together and share it with you. I am going to do myasthenia gravis next because it is a form of paralysis. Now, in Michael J. Lincoln's book, he provides a very limited scope of paralysis, but I'm going to do some research online and see what else I can find around this condition, because the person I met did have and talk with did have a particular condition, but there seemed to be more to it, more systemic and not just isolated, which is what Lincoln is saying. He's saying that it's very isolated to one area, and the one person I talked to indicated that there was more to it than that, again, more systemic. But they also said that in the medical community, myasthenia gravis is called the snowflake disease because each person is different. So I'm going to do a little bit more research and see what I can find on that. So there may be a video tomorrow. I don't know that I'll get to it tonight. We'll see. But I am looking forward to doing a little bit more. If you have a case study, a medical condition that you would like me to research, whether it's something you have experienced or someone you know has experienced, please email me at etherealsoul2003@gmail.com. That's ETHEREAL soul, SOUL 2003@gmail.com, and I will happily look it up. You can put any criteria in there that you want. If you want me to do a video and post it, I will. If you just want a private consultation, we can do that. If you need a healing around this work, or you want to schedule a healing with the person that is close to you that has this particular medical condition, I can do that as well. So that's what we're doing right now, and I need to take a deep breath because I am just really taking in this information and really thinking about it. You know, I did work with somebody years ago. God, it's been 2.5 decades, literally 2.5 decades, a young woman who was probably in her 20s, I think. And she was in a wheelchair. And I wasn't quite at the level of curiosity about the body as I am. I was nowhere even close to that. I hadn't even begun to study body work and massage and holistic health. But she did indicate that her condition was seemingly something that happened overnight. She had, at this point, been in a wheelchair with lower body paralysis, I think for about 3 to 5 years. It might have been a little bit longer. I'm actually not entirely sure. This was, like I said, 2.5 decades ago. Lots happened for me in 2.5 decades. But she had been out bike riding, and, you know, nothing abnormal, came home and woke up the next morning and was unable to move her legs. And they did a lot of doctor evaluations, x-rays, MRIs, those kinds of things, and they found no medical condition for her paralysis. There was nothing to indicate, no traumatic injury, no severing of the spine, no pinched nerve. They could not give a medical, biomedical, physiological medical diagnosis for her paralysis. So, you know, as I was reading this, I wondered if her condition was a body-mind driven outcome. Yeah, the body is an amazing vessel, container, conduit, dynamic, alive, ever-changing, transforming entity. So anyway, up next, myasthenia gravis. myasthenia gravis. I'm really having a difficult time pronouncing this. I hope to get it right shortly. All right, take care. More coming soon.